Hi friends, it's the 2nd of March 2021, can you believe it? And I was about to do a Bible study, but sometimes religion can be something to hide behind. There's a lovely scripture that says, don't tell your family you can't help them because you gave all your tithes to the church. Don't be a hypocrite. And sometimes, even though it comforts me to do a Bible study, sometimes there's I think Jeremiah and Isaiah in the Bible talk about when there's a fire burning in their belly, and it just has to be, just like when you have to speak, you have to speak. So I'm going to do my February update, given it's the 2nd of March. And I didn't even publish my January one in all the right places. Please, somebody help me admin my blog. But February for me has been emotional. I'm still processing. My mother died in November, and the family are doing things, and my sister and I are cooperating, probably for the first time in a few years. But anyway, I'm just gonna try and get through this. It's not going to be as journalistic. I was reading something, because the times are so sharply focused at the moment. Forgive me if you know me, I ramble at the beginning. The days are so sharply focused because of the pandemic and economic collapse and the collapse of empires and societies, and the possibility of us being in the last days, the end times. The disillusionment of probably not a pre-trib rapture in the offing, so much going on. It's been a time of readjustment, realignment, recalibration. And so I heard somebody say, don't do, and this is people's ideal, don't, if you're going to work, do something you love, and then it's not even work, it's just a passion. And I remember, possibly as an escape mechanism for the abuse of my childhood, I decided I wanted to be an actress, and I wanted to go to Hollywood, and when I grew up I'd be rich and famous, and then people would listen to me, and then I'd show the grown-ups. It was that kind of childish escapism back then. And I was also kind of programmed into that whole Hollywood thing, and there's a newspaper cutting from Hornchurch in Essex, probably a local paper, saying 5-year-old Angela Parra sang, danced and recited for the Women's Guild or something. So there's always been that thing, that sort of, my mother instilled that in us to perform, and it was also part of the Irish culture. You always had to have a party piece at the ready for a family gathering, So early on I thought I want to be an actress. And then my mother did the same as her parents did to her. She tried to put the brakes on, and she said to me, why don't you have a backup trade? Why don't you have another skill? Why don't you go to secretarial college or journalism, or just find something that you can do in between acting jobs? And even though it made sense, and I did go ahead and work in a merchant bank for 3 years, and trained in journalism, but with hindsight, I think if your child has a passion, nurture it rather than telling them to make a plan B. That's just an aside. So now in my 60s, in my twilight years, trying to be a useful citizen and bring wisdom and the crone to the table, I think, right, what am I most excited about doing? Is it journalism? The acting, no. If somebody said to me on a plate now, come and you know, come to Hollywood or come and, you know, imitate your heroes, Meryl Streep, Judi Dench, you know, Judy Garland, all those greats, Marilyn Monroe, all those people I idolised. Come and emulate them. I would say no thanks, but no thanks, you know, because it's so corrupt. And to be honest as well, with DID, which is mostly dormant for me, dissociative identity disorder, it's mostly resolved unless I'm really stressed. But with that, when I act, I truly dissociate into the part, and I don't think it's healthy. You know, the last professional acting job I did, I played twins at the Rama Theatre, one of whom had committed suicide and the other of whom had to pick up the pieces. And it was 10 weeks rehearsals and then production for a week or two. And I dissociated the whole time. It's not worth it. I can see why a lot of actresses self-destruct at a young age, you know. And I remember as well a French teacher at Fitzmaurice Grammar saying, I think this was in lower sixth when we were about 17, he said, oh, write an imaginary picture of your life at 40. And I wrote this high drama projection of how I would have had a stunning acting career and then died of an overdose at 40. And he was just heartbroken. He was just like, oh my goodness, how could you foresee such a terrible future? So here we are at 63. And I don't want to go back to acting, but I do want to remain true to who I am and whatever giftings I've got. And so February's been emotional, and the things I want to share in this update are a couple of people disclosing, Brian Harvey and Nathaniel Harris, in tears. And when people dare to say, as Daniela Westbrook said about Brian Harvey, oh, he's having a bipolar episode, I just get so furious. It's like, no, this is somebody in the presence of a flashback and with mental injuries from persecution, you know. And the same with Nathaniel Harris. It's like our society persecutes the victims rather than pursuing perpetrators. So yeah, I'm going to skim through the news. There is news, and I'll do an update again with Andy soon. It looks like a fourth person of the 7 incarcerated in the Wilfred Wong case is going to plead guilty to conspiracy to kidnap, which will only leave Wilfred, Jeanette and Andrew pleading not guilty. And again, you can dispute, is a rescue a kidnap? Is it a kidnap if a mother tries to rescue her son from real or perceived danger? You know, we'll address that. There's lots going on there. There's an allegation that the communications coming out from Wilfred Wong are not genuinely from him, particularly the letter he's alleged to have written to Jeanette Archer, aka Marshall, ? And I remember thinking at the time, as a trained barrister, Wilfred would never, in my opinion, as a trained barrister, even if he never practiced, would never have named the child. I don't get that. So I'm going to skim through. And the other thing is, I got a well-being email from YouTube out of the blue. I've got no idea who reported that I was a health and well-being risk, based on what, and it was a no reply email. And I don't know if the person did it maliciously, mischievously, or out of genuine concern. I do suffer as a survivor, both of child sexual abuse and MKUltra. I do suffer from suicidal ideation. You know, maybe twice a week I feel like it's not worth it. But I've recognised it as an external thing from me and who I am. And I've managed, you know, because I have children, I've managed to always say I feel like killing myself, but I'm not going to do that, you know. So there's a very sharp differentiation between a feeling of despair and an urge to commit suicide, you know. Sorry, I'm just whatever. Who cares what I look like? Right, so let me just start here. Right, February update. I'll just share the well-being email with you first of all, just to document it. Share screen. Just in case people don't believe me. Let's get rid of that. Here we go, look. Yeah. Need help, you're not alone. Hi, we're reaching out because members of the YouTube community, including fellow creators, that's interesting, viewers or staff, are worried about your safety or well-being after coming across content that you posted with references to or actual suicidal or self-harm behaviour. I've never self-harmed other than smoking and drinking, which is a slow form of self-harming, but I've never been a cutter. I've only once tried to take an overdose. I was 15. So there's no actual suicidal or self-harming behaviour going on. So references to, that's the only thing that you could find in my work, is that I occasionally talk about suicidal ideation. It's not uncommon. Now in my DVD, I don't know if it's back up again, it was nuked by Biggie Boho and Mel V, but in my DVD Chasing Rainbows, which is also on Vimeo and BitChute, I do talk about if there was an instant suicide, painless portal, that many survivors would walk through it, you know. But I'm just saying again, you know, with children and grandchildren and a strong faith in Jesus Christ, I'm not going to do that. I will have those thoughts. It's part of the programming, but it's not who I am, and it's not anything I will act on. So I'll carry on here. It's not uncommon to turn to suicidal thinking and self-harm, as I say, I've never self-harmed, as ways to cope with painful emotions. Talking to someone can help you process these emotions as well as get support through a difficult time. I don't know if they upped the ante because of COVID, or if, I don't know what this is about. We encourage you to use the resources listed in our help centre. These include contact information for organisations like the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline and Crisis Text Line. Links to informational websites like SAFE and CEOS, self-injury outreach and support. What is this about self-injury? Like, I don't get this. I don't know if this is malicious or kind. We care about you, you're not alone, and help is available. And this is from no reply at YouTube. But, like, you know, if that's genuine, you know, that could be construed as kind. Or it could be just a head wreck, I don't know. Right, I'll leave that on screen share. I'm going to share a couple of the most important... I should have lined these up, but you'll just forgive me because I didn't. A couple of the most important disclosure videos, certainly of this century, from Brian Harvey and Nathaniel Harris. And sadly, the Sun newspaper, along with Christine Joanna Hart and Daniela Westbrook, tried to paint it up as Brian having a bipolar episode, which is just scandalous. What it actually was. I hope he hasn't taken it down. Oh, what was it? Yeah, here it is. This is somebody, to me, in the presence of flashbacks, and I'll summarise. I intend to do a summary, the story of Brian from an outsider's bird's eye view. I'll do that another time, but for me, Brian starts doing what seems like a random examination of a photo and then gets a flashback of Ghislaine Maxwell having been present in a sex club paedophile scenario that Brian accidentally stumbled on. And just to see him in the presence of the flashback, and then to see the scandal of it being written up as a bipolar episode, and, you know, sending ambulances to his house and police to do welfare checks and so on. It's so insulting. It is so insulting. You could empty the psychiatric wards to a great degree if you just heard and believed what the inmates were trying to tell you, you know. And to some extent, they are heard and believed, which is why they're discredited. So I'm going to play you some of this. I hope you don't mind, Brian. And I'm going to talk about rejection as well, because I know you've dissed me.
Right. These pictures that are on this...
So Brian, and this annoyed me as a survivor and a children's advocate, but he did an analysis of these two photos, and he said that looks to be some photoshopping going on. You know, to do with the definition and the foreground and the lighting and so on and so forth. Now, I've heard a testimony by Virginia Roberts Giuffre saying that she had the original of these photos, that she got away with having it taken by saying, oh, I'd really like a photo with the prince. Is that okay? Can I get a photo? Sean Atwood has verified this banister by doorstepping Gillen's Muse house in London, and Virginia convincingly, as a survivor, says, I had this original photo, I gave it to the FBI as part of my evidence bundle, and they never gave it back. So I suspect there's a double whammy where they could have taken, I believe, the survivor first and foremost. I'm not a technician. But if there is a Photoshop thing going on, it's very possible that Virginia's original photo, given in evidence, in innocence and in trust to the authorities, was then double exposed and jiggled and made to look like a Photoshop. That's possible. But that's not the point. The point is that as Brian started to examine the authenticity of these photos, I've had survivors testify to me about Simon Cowell, and I believe Virginia, she's a credible witness in my opinion. But the bottom line is, this picture of Ghislaine Maxwell triggered, for me, a full flashback for Brian. So we'll just jump on a bit here.
Tom puts her on me. Tom's got a relationship with Daniela Westbrook because when Tom what send you in, because we got a bit of history. Yeah. Because that's all I remember.
Right. So again, I'm going to try and save this potted version of my perspective of what's been done to this man. And I believe him. But because he observed rape within the band when he was in a boy band in his teens, and he observed paedophilia in a nightclub with Ghislaine Maxwell present and some other celebrities, he's been targeted, and different people have been used to target him. So I'll try and just jump to the part where he starts to get in the presence of the flashback.
John Harris, you see something, you done this to me, and you got me locked in my fucking...
Language warning. This is where he starts to get in the presence of the flashback. This is not, in my opinion, this is not a bipolar meltdown. This is somebody realising, oh my God, she was there, that was her, I saw that. He gets sick, he gets a panic attack. This is not bipolar, this is a flashback, people. And the dog is grounding him back in the present. He loves his dogs. He loves his dogs. He doesn't walk them enough, but he loves his dogs. And that's grounding him, but he's still having to face up to what he's seen and what he remembers. He actually gets sick, and I'm going to spare him that.
It's right. We've got to lay down, boy. Sort that, baby.
Oh, bless. This broke my heart when I watched this.
I can't fucking believe you people, man.
Language warning to those that are sensitive. I don't think this is acting. This is what a flashback's like.
It's alright, girl. It's alright. It's alright. It's alright, baby girl. So I've had my own queen targeting me, yeah? And there's me at the Bill Maloney thing when I meet Ben Fellows, yeah? And how's the video end? I want to know about Prince Charles and Jimmy Savile. Put me straight on the radar.
I just have to say that, to some extent, I think the whole playbook about Randy Andy is in order to take the heat off Prince Charles and Jimmy Savile. Prince Charles being possible future King of England. That's not to say I don't believe that Prince Andrew and Prince Edward and so many of them are involved with paedophilia, but I do wonder if the whole Randy Andy narrative was a sidestep to get the heat off Prince Charles. I don't know.
And then couple that with back then. You made me look mad.
Yeah.
You try and make me look mad.
Yeah.
In front of everyone.
Yeah.
To protect your fucking self.
Yeah.
You bastards.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, man. Fuck. No wonder it all looks unbelievable, eh?
Yeah.
Ah.
This is where he gets sick. I'll spare him that, although it's part of it. It's part of it.
What the fuck? Oh.
And then the truth settles. Then you realise you're not crazy.
No wonder I ain't getting nowhere with the phone hacking claims.
Yeah.
Can't get a lawyer.
Yeah.
How can you do this to someone, man? And the band member.
Yeah. Say it out, Tony. One of his band members was brutally raped. Brutally raped. Ongoingly, to be honest. Some of them pay the price.
All going on around me all the time.
Yeah.
No one was to talk about it.
No.
It's all so obvious now.
Yeah.
Fucking cunts.
This is what it's like. This is dot joining. This is not an intellectual exercise. This is when it hits you. Oh my God. Oh my God. I had this regarding Lord Bramall, who was part of a human hunting party when I was 8. I've been here. In the presence of Wiltshire. No, actually, it wasn't during my disclosure to Wiltshire Police. It was later. But it's not nice. And whether anybody will ever believe you is a moot point, is a big question. But the realisation you're not crazy, you did not make this up, is very healing.
Watch your back, bruv.
Watch your back, bruv. That's from Brian. That's from Bill Maloney. I'm so disappointed in Bill Maloney.
Oh God.
Heartbroken.
Oh.
And if this is acting, give the man an Oscar, because I don't think it is.
You're a shit cunt. You're a shit cunts, man.
Let's see, jump forward to where he gets it that it was
Because I
Gillen.
made the right move and you didn't.
Yeah. Jumping forward a bit. The crystallisation of it is Gillen. He saw Gillen.
Actually believed, you know what I mean? I could be in a fucking band and... I mean, it's just a breeding ground for paedophiles.
Yeah.
And people that want to hold secrets and knock you for money.
Yeah.
And fucking ruin you. Let this be a lesson to anyone that's thinking of signing a record deal or going in the music industry. Let it be a lesson to you. You won't ever get anyone doing this again like me, I promise you. I'm dead anyway, so fuck them.
No, that's the only... I'll put a link to this, and I really encourage you to watch the whole thing and all the evidence archives if you do research in this area. But there's another crystallised moment where he's working on a photo really to do with Prince Andrew and Virginia Giuffre, and then Ghislaine starts to come into focus, and bang, there's the flashback. And that's not a false memory or an implanted memory. That's a flashback. And he'd already described in an earlier video, there was this woman, she was kind of white and smiley, looked a bit like Cherie Blair, but it wasn't Cherie Blair. No, it was Ghislaine Maxwell. So, the only thing I would disagree, I'm amazed at Brian getting rooted and grounded in his faith. I'm sad it's through T.D. Jakes, because he's friends with Oprah and used to be friends with Bishop Eddie Long, who turned out to have a closet gay thing going on in the background. But, you know, God's truth will ring out even through the mouths of charlatans, you know. So, but Brian says, I'm dead anyway, they're going to kill me. And the thing I learned when I had a cancer scare in 2014, thought I had 3 months to live, was it's braver to stay alive than it is to die. We can all imagine or visualise a sacrificial death and think, well, let my life make a difference and let me leave a legacy, and it's all very... But it's actually, we don't need to be another sacrifice. There's already been the ultimate sacrifice, who was Jesus. So it takes more courage for us to live than it does to die. That's all I would say. You're not going to die, Brian, because you did the right thing and you went public. And then, so I'll move on from that and I'll share that link. And just, that had me just praying and crying in the middle of the night. Let's move on. Nathaniel Harris. Let's go into my watch history. Library. Liked videos. Here we go. Maybe we'll find it here. And I can't. Colin Batley call out to journalists. You have to please, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this guy's channel. He is an occultist. I remember saying, you know, an interview I did in 2015 or 16 in a studio in Tottenham was with a Pope of a Satanist church worldwide, Reverend Pope Robbie Freyes, and it went to number 4 in the global interview charts. And I got some flack for interviewing a Satanist, but he was trying to say not all Satanists endorse paedophilia or, you know, ritual sacrifices. And this man, though we're worlds apart on our theology, yet he's a survivor, I'm a survivor, and his testimony and his evidence, his documentation, it's just breathtaking. But in this video, he also reaches the point of despair and says, can people please help? You can't, people need to help. We need to mobilise, we need to not wait for, you know, white knights to save the day. Everybody needs to mobilise. So I'm going to play a bit of this.
My writings about psychic, magic, neurology.
Alright, so we'll jump a bit.
Although often plagiarised by Western magicians, the pagan.
So he is well known in his own field of paganism and chaos magic and so on and so forth. But he's stepped out of his comfort zone to expose paedophilia within the pagan community, particularly in the UK. And he is getting similar harassment to Brian Harvey. Police coming to the door, well-being checks, you know, nefarious accusations and arrests and just torture. Just for speaking out and telling the truth.
Occult world for a very, very long time. I don't make any grandiose claim in my life. It's just like a fucking nightmare.
This is what it's like to be a whistleblower.
It's like living in the middle of the worst fucking horror movie imaginable. These events have torn apart my family. They've harmed so many people. And the first thing we did was go to the police.
Yeah.
It's the first thing we did. We did the right thing.
The police are so infiltrated. Corrupt
And the
Freemasons.
system failed. The system failed nearly a decade ago. And that failure has never been addressed.
No.
And all that ever happens is that the police are on my case again and again and again.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm scared. I put on a brave face. But with their fuck-ups, the police, in previous response at Trinity Road,
Yeah.
I found myself being taken under cover of darkness to a psychiatric facility,
Yep.
accused of being insane.
Yep. Just for telling the truth.
I proved my sanity, but I never got an apology.
No.
And I'm traumatised anytime I have anything to do with that place.
These people are not acting. Come on, people. This is a grown man, nearly my age. Child of abusers. Intergenerational.
And all those things in the newspapers, come on. They're for real. They're all for real.
Yeah.
And people have been murdered. And we've been harassed.
Yeah.
And cyber-stalked.
Yeah.
And harassed in the street. Physically attacked. I'm the only person that's ever been arrested. And all of this has been me.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy upside down.
It's true. The disclosures we brought were true.
Yeah, they were. And they were evidence-backed.
The failing of the system is true.
Mm-hmm.
The continued failing of the system is true.
Yep. Come on, Ixer.
And every time the system comes up against its failure, it just increases its cruelty. Increases its absurdity.
Yep. Targeting. Slow assassinations.
So that's the truth.
And again, I'll share a link to that.
And I'm not some hero.
Just a brave man. Yeah, so that's been two emotional disclosures from people that I follow. And I've been there. So I feel nothing but contempt for people that laugh at or dismiss out of hand paedophilia and abuse and corruption and cover-ups and targeting. Shame on you, shame on you, shame on you, you know. So I'm going to talk about rejection as well. I've aligned myself with a church in New York, talk, times of refreshing, something. Anyway, talk, TORCC, New York. They've got one in Sydney as well. And they did a teaching on rejection this month, and it was very appropriate because when you're a YouTuber, you will experience not only trolling and, ridicule and satire, but also rejection from unexpected quarters, and that's been hard. And so in February, Nikki blocked me on Facebook and on YouTube, and then Brian denounced me, and different people sort of cut contact. And I've just, there's a saying, it's not from the Bible, but there is a saying, all rejection is God's protection. And so with hindsight, I think, oh well, so-and-so, it hurt when they did that, but in the long run it was a good thing. But and I've learned to forgive and have compassion. There are some people, especially since 2015, when I really started getting targeted, there have been people that have come back years later and said, I'm so sorry. I joined the sort of club of hating you, and I've realised, I was wrong. And that's always very touching, but it does still hurt a bit when people go, especially those you've regarded as an ally or somebody fighting on the same side. It does hurt. So it was a really timely message on rejection. And if you keep a God's eye perspective, it's only for a season. I don't know these people. I used to say, would they come to my funeral? Would they pay my bills if I had a bad month? And mostly it's no. So, rejection is just in our heads for the most part. Dublin, Ireland. Alleged riots on Saturday, but Ole Damagard has taught me so well, and different people over the years that I've been working in this field, that I can recognise an FF just with a synopsis. So when I heard that an alleged, what there was a big anti-lockdown protest, and it included some of those anti-vaccine, anti-COVID and so on. But it's, an anti-lockdown protest. And the Irish, when we protested against the water charges by Denis O'Brien with his globalist agenda and his dodgy German meters, we had like 500,000 on the streets, and it changed things. And I think the new government is determined that this will not be allowed to escalate. So even though we've had over 500,000 protesting against the lockdown and the whole pandemic thing, I think there was a decision made high up to stop it. So there was a protest on Saturday, and allegedly a protester threw a firework at a guard, a policeman, which then gave the policeman the green light to baton and plastic bullet and charge the crowds, and it descended into a bit of a horror movie. I wonder if I can find that. I might show you some scenes out of that. Go share screen again. I didn't think to line this one up, but I'll try and find it. The liberal.ie. I could find it, but I'd compromise the person that sent it to me. So look, I'll save that for the next video, and I think I shared it, but I'll share it on my page. Horrendous scenes of apparent riots in Dublin, Grafton Street and St Stephen's Green, but within, I think, 20 minutes, thanks to the internet, it was identified. A guard was identified holding that firework. The firework didn't explode, and it seems to have been a staged event. And I unfriended somebody who wrote, "It still shocks me how mind-controlled a lot of the Irish populace are." And so I unfriended somebody who says, I wish the guards had bet the crap out of the whole lot of them bastards, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And another friend of mine wrote, "Oh, my parents are scheduled for the vaccine. We're so blessed, we're so grateful." I'm like, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Have you not seen the genocide of the elderly in this whole operation? So, yeah, I'll share that on my wall and perhaps put a link into that, but I don't want to go to the source that sent it to me. Yeah, I had crazy dreams. I think dreams are going to be more and more relevant in this moment, in this time. And I dreamed a school friend from when I was 13 or 14 had contacted me and said, "Come to France, we've got a whole trip planned." February, March every year, I'm always a bit run down. I miss the sun. I need vitamin D. I think most people do. But if I haven't had some sunshine, by about February, March, my body's screaming for it. And so I had this crazy dream of a friend saying to me, "Come to France, I've got a whole itinerary planned out, we're going to have an amazing holiday." And then somebody else saying, no, come to America. And I'm saying, "But, we're locked down. Like, I'm not going to get tested, I'm not going to get vaccinated. How do I get there?" It's just, But I do think it's a time of dreams. Archives of Truth. I can't stress enough. Please, I'm glad this channel's more than doubled since I lost my main one. We're up to 800 and something subs. Help me get to 1,000, and then it kind of self-generates. But I can't stress enough. Please subscribe to the associate channel of this one called Archives of Truth. It's got all my lost videos on it. It's got a main focus on Hampstead. And it's got a lot of lost videos that were scrubbed from the internet. and just, it's only got about 60 something subscribers at the moment, but the content is just priceless, and to researchers I would recommend you download it. Archives of Truth, I'll put a link to that as well. And then family moments, yeah, just I'm trying to get, they say with a death it can take a year to process, sometimes 2. It took me 2 years grieving, losing my sister. It'll be 6 years in May. My mum died in November. I did cry for a month. I still get a shock when I drive past, where she lived, and just little moments. It's like, oh, she's not there anymore. I'm not going to see her anymore. And there was conflict. My mum was certainly guilty of failure to protect and probably criminal neglect. And she left a few stings in her tail even after death. But I still think it takes time to grieve. And I don't know, maybe some of my sisters, I've got 3 still surviving. Maybe there will be something to rescue. Because part of the playbook is divide and conquer. That was part of the programming, part of the training for children in intergenerational abusive families, particularly registered in programs. Part of the training is divide and conquer, and to create sibling rivalry and gladiator style competition, and so maybe some of that will unravel, as we grow older and as we bury our parents. So anyway, that's it. It's not very sensible, but that's my February update. It's emotional, and I just would ask you to reach out. I'd ask you, if you watch that video, particularly of Nathaniel's, it said he ends up in that video saying, I can't do this without help. I cannot emotionally and physically withstand the pressure of doing this alone. So please reach out in whatever way you can. Please do what you can. Simple things: subscribe, share, comment, contribute, or come forward. The thing I most advise survivors, I'm going to be interviewing someone tomorrow. But mostly I say to them, set up a YouTube channel and speak your truth. Get it out there. It's so empowering. It's not easy. It can be brutal. But we all must do something. So Jesus loves you. And the other person I did feel some compassion for, shoot me now. No, I got banned on Facebook for 30 days once for saying that. It's just a saying. But I did feel a bit hurt. I did feel bad for Andrew. I did. I do believe she is intersex. I don't know that for sure. But I did feel the trolling was a bit intense. There's bitching and then there's brutality. And Jesus loves you. That's all I can say. And he loves me too. And to those who've cut me off, I forgive you. And to those who've stood by me, thank you. God bless, people. This is my February update. Please share it. Please support if you can. I want to write a book. I need some funding. But I'm not begging. I do this whether I get support or not, because it's like that thing where you just have to. You just have to speak the truth. So that's it. God bless, people. Take care of yourselves. And take care of others.